Hello, and welcome to episode 235. Does that sound right? Of Prog Review. And if you haven't read the title and description, I'm talking about Fish Rising by Steve Hillage and his band. This is his debut solo album. It was released on April the 11th, 1975. And this was a gift. I owned this album a long time back, when digital music first started to be a thing, and I purchased it on Windows Media Audio or whatever it was. It was DRM encrypted, and so when I changed computers, it said, "You can't play this anymore." So it was nice to get this back. So thank you, the person who gifted this to me. It's nice to have the album back. I shouldn't really like this album because it's space rock. Nobody likes space rock. I'm sure you people out there will correct me. But yeah, it's that kind of nebulous. I find it very hard talking about these. I find it very hard to talk about albums like this because they're very nebulous. It's like talking about Hawkwind or whatever. They're very rhythm based and repetitive, and it's a meeting of rock and minimalism kind of coming together, and it is very, very difficult to describe what you like and what you don't like about them. What I like about Steve Hillage is I like his guitar playing. I think he's a very interesting guitarist. I admire him from a technical standpoint. And I didn't realise why I liked him. I was doing a bit of research on this. He comes from Chingford, so he's local boy to me, that's why. So obviously the DNA, I can feel that the DNA might be strong, the geographical DNA that links us. But yeah, I mean, Steve Hillage has been in lots of bands. I'm not going to name them because if I miss one out, some pedant will mention it in the comments section and think what a clever bastard they are. So I'm not going to name all the bands he's been in, but he was in a lot of bands before this. So Fish Rising seemed to be kind of a natural progression. You can hear a lot of what he came from in it. It's kind of that Canterbury scene sound, but a little bit more spacey. There are how many tracks? He says, looking at the listing, there's 5 tracks, though these are subdivided on, depending on which version of the album you buy. On the CD, they're just like one long track, but I think on the album they were subdivided further. So you got 2 long tracks, or 3 long tracks. Solo Music Suite, 16 minutes 55. Again, it's fairly hippy dippy kind of stuff and spacey guitars, and it's good. It's good music to have in the background, though it lacks a bit of focus. Salmon Song I quite like, and Afterglid, which is 14 minutes 42. I like the end section of that. Again, this is the thing about Steve Hillage. I don't always like all of his stuff, but there might be a riff or there might be something in it, like a tiny little bit. I think, oh, that's really cool. That's really clever. Oh, I like that. I wouldn't say he's a great soloist, and we're talking great melodies. It is more spacey and feel and texture. That's where we're going with this album. Probably not to everybody's liking, but if you do like the old space rock, if you like the old Hawkwind and Gong and people like that, you can have no problem making the transition to this album. It's very dated. That's the problem. It's very much a thing of its time. And some of it, you do raise an eyebrow to. It's quite naive in its way, but it's still good fun. I quite like it. But it's not an album I necessarily want to listen to all the time. I want to be in a frame of mind. Again, I think it's more about his abilities as a guitarist that I find interesting. He's not. I wouldn't say he's a guitar whiz, but he's a bit like Steve Hackett in that respect. He's he's good at his instrument, but he takes it in a different area. He goes in a different place rather than widdly off into the event horizon. It is more about tone and feel and things like that. So yeah, I mean, as it's his debut, this is probably the best starting off point for his back catalogue. Again, I'm not an expert I'm not an expert on Hillage because I've only got a couple of his albums, though like I said, the rest of his albums have been gifted to me and I will be working my way through them, so I'm quite looking forward to doing that. 4-2 Next, I always get the title wrong. Is it 4-2 Next? Is a personal favourite. Let me call it up. I'll get it right. Wait a minute. Yeah, 4-2 Next and Not Or is a personal favourite of mine. Well, there's one track on it, And Not Or, which absolutely puts the shivers through me every time I hear it. Again, I was introduced to this track by a fellow a long time ago, and it stuck. It's one of those songs that kind of stuck. So yeah, I mean, in terms of a rating, I think it's probably an essential album. I think it's one of those essential albums that you need to work your way through, because it helps you get a grip on a whole genre of music. The old space rock. I hate to keep saying it. Is it progressive? I wouldn't say this is a progressive rock album. It has certain stylistic quirks that make it prog. The extended songs, the fact that there's a lot of noodling on there. There are influences, but it's more because it is more of that Hawkwind style genre type thing. It's more over that way. I mean, it's not going to blow your mind, well, unless you first, but probably a lot of people who do that would enjoy this music. I feel like I'm talking in circles. I better wind this up. Anyway, I'm going to give this a rating. I'm going to give this a very steady 3.5 salmon songs out of 5. That's 3.5 salmon songs out of 5. I mean, I really shouldn't like it because it's a bit airy fairy and spacey for my liking, but I've got this admiration for Steve Hillage that kind of overrides that. And yeah, you must check out that Mike Oldfield, that fella, when he does Tubular Bells Part 1 at the BBC. You see Steve Hillage playing with him. I think him and Fred Frith, are on guitars backing up Mike Oldfield. And that's very interesting to watch, and that's where I get my love for those players from, my admiration. Anyway, my name's been Darren Lock. I've been burbling on about Fish Rising by Steve Hillage. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. Don't forget to thumbs it up or thumbs it down. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to pass it on to your friends. I've got to do all this because numbers are dwindling, and it's all about the numbers. No, those people that come onto YouTube and say, well, I only do it for the joy of the videos. No, I do it for the views, man. I want as many people in the world to see this as possible because, it might, turn people onto this. And I want to share my enthusiasm with everyone. If only 4 people watch it, then there's not much point in doing it, is it, really? I went a bit off topic there. I'm ever so sorry. Anyway, only one more thing to say, apart from social media and Twitface and Google Plus, and that is prog on.